Hello, this is my 3:30 research proposal lightning presentation for bioanthropology here at Humboldt State. Let's jump right into it here. I created a slideshow, but I was unable to get the exact pictures for this slideshow, so I'll bounce back to my report if I can in the screen share towards the end, so you can see that in the full works cited. But in this research proposal entitled Peopling the America, it deals with the Peopling Americas theory. It's proposed to perform genetic sequencing and analysis on accessioned late paleo fossil remains. And we reduced the scope of this project from actually getting out in the field and excavating new remains or fossilized evidence from paleo sites to simply review by working with institutions, review what fossils are in those accessions that haven't been sampled for whatever reason, whether it was a legal or a funding issue, and then contact those institutions to get those remains or fossilized items out of accessions for the purposes of this. And we're actually only looking for one fossil for this particular analysis from late Pleistocene sites, deposits inside of the project area. In this first slide, we see an example of the out of Africa theory here. The transition over the Bering Strait proposed to have been, around 15,000. Recently, one of my works cited was the work by Fu in northern Siberia, a 45,000-year-old fossil, BPD, recovered in this area where the cursor is in the northern part of Siberia. And that was just in 2016. But this first slide also shows the peopling of America theory. This would represent paleo migration just after the last glacial maximum. And then also we deal with in this also in the scope of this proposed project for DNA analysis of the accession remains comparison for cross analysis to living tribal populations from this area of California to support or disprove evidence of the Kelp Highway theory published by Erlandson out of UC Santa Barbara. And that was also in just the last 10 years. And this is a new theory about migratory patterns and gene flow around the Pacific Rim. Okay, get to the next one here. A summary of the proposed elements of this research proposal is like was said, to get the fossilized bone from an institution and then sample that against the living tribal population. In the scope of this research proposal, this current research proposal, we're targeting 3 tribal groups from 3 separate tribal languages. And using this tribal language research, this is not a photo that was selected. I couldn't upload this to the slide, so I found these generic pictures from the internet just to make this slideshow. But in this photo, it shows the Karuk are part of the Hokan language family located in this area of Northern California. The Hokan language family are one of the 3 tribal languages that are proposed to be sampled within our N group. That would be 5 individuals from 3 tribes for a total of 15 samples from 3 tribal language families. The Karuk are hypothesized as being the oldest language family to enter the area of California. And then these once we have the fossil, we can take samples and only a very small amount is required to be destroyed of the actual fossil. This is always of concern to tribal representatives and tribal governments today, as far as respect towards those remains. And so a very small amount, as little as 10 to 15 micrograms are needed for this comparative analysis to gain more information of the estimation of entry into the California area. And then the second analysis to be performed is the mitochondrial DNA analysis of the allele mutation rate, just it's projected to have occurred over millennia, over time, temporally at a given rate. And this mutation over time can be used to show the time and geographical span of distance of the last common ancestor to earlier Homo populations who were migrating across Asia and out of Africa. This would include, if applicable, this would include Neanderthal or later Homo sapien migration patterns. And then these findings, the conclusions from this test, could possibly support the Bering Strait hypothesis, or also given more evidence to support the Kelp Highway theory of migration along the Pacific Rim from Asia into North America. And then lastly, as a control in this proposed experiment, we would perform carbon-14 dating analysis on the fossil as well, to use as a control to test our results of the allele mutation projections over time, to really test those dates and those results to see if they're matching the more accurate and longer used carbon analysis. And in these photographs that I got here, also, this is the gel electrophoresis table that we use to analyze the genetics once the samples have been rendered in this chamber. And then we use at the next steps for DNA barcoding against known world early Homo samples. Oh, and our live native community contribution group. And then here's also our multi-tip pipette being used to measure and in a controlled way move the samples. The methods and materials summary for this. We'll perform a catalog analysis of the accession fossil remains to target which institutions or agencies that we would be approaching to get the fossil from to perform this analysis. And again, the carbon-14 radio analysis to be performed as a control to test the allele mutation frequencies against. Fossil sampling and handling is also required here. And again, the gel electrophoresis is done in conjunction to find the DNA barcoding analysis results, and then also the Y chromosome analysis test for the mutation rate and gene flow estimations over time and geographical distribution. I say gene flow, that's also gene flow. DNA sampling of the project community is also conducted with the Native American tribes within the scope of this research proposal. And then also the comparisons to early migratory patterns of early humans from Africa and Asia, again, to recap. And then the summary analysis, this would require a report of the findings, consultation with the partnerships and tribes and institutions and agencies and other partners along the way. And the compliance of that data in the report form. And then full compliance with federal and state law through NAGPRA and consultation with tribal nations that are impacted by the scope of this project. And then potential contributions could be found to support the Bering Land Bridge theory and or the Kelp Highway theory of the peopling of the Americas, which is really exciting that this is possible. And then the potential for the identification tribe of origin possibly, or last common ancestor, to possibly repatriate these remains once the analysis has been complete. Here's an incomplete citation slide, and I'm going to try to go back to, here's the proposal, and if you want, you can pause it on this slide or the map of the project area is here, and you can pause it if you need to look. And this is just an example. This was the analysis that was done on the 45,000-year-old fossil that was recovered in 2016 by Fu in northern Siberia. And then here I'll slowly scroll my works cited, and you can pause that if you guys need to look up any of that information. Thank you very much. This has been a really great course and exciting to learn about this theory and possibly put this stuff together later in my career.